Hi everyone, welcome to my first video. You asked for it. I have 5 questions today that I'm going to be responding to very quickly as I can get through them. I apologize for my hair. I actually was able to put my top down on my car today and I've got a frizz ball going on, but it was 65 degrees out and I thought, for Michigan, that is warm, and if I can have my top down in February on my Roadster, I'm gonna do it. So I did, and this is what you get. But anyway, my first questions are from Bev Roberts. Now, I did respond to Bev Roberts in writing, but with these questions that I'm doing for You Asked For It, I'm going to do the videos and then I will post them unless it's something you have to have an answer right away. I will let you know to watch the video so that you'll hear your answer in the video. That way you won't miss it, okay? She says, Bev Roberts says, very relieved to hear you like the Lucas Berlin water mixable oils. The tip about Murphy's oil soap is great. It's easy to find. Which white do you prefer, titanium white or zinc white, and why? I prefer titanium white, and the reason for that is that titanium white is an opaque white. Zinc white is a transparent white. Some people prefer transparent white, and they like the zinc white because it stays truer white over time. Titanium white can yellow over time, but the amount of yellowing you get nowadays is very minimal, and I doubt anybody's going to be looking at one of my paintings in 75 years. So they'll probably all be in a landfill somewhere, which is fine. I'll be gone. I won't care. But I really doubt they'll be in a museum. And if they are, somebody else will be taking care of those issues. So it's not a problem for me. All the paintings I have with titanium white, I don't notice any yellowing on. I'm just kind of glancing around the room at a few of them. And yeah, so I'm not worried about that. And I'm sure the formulations are beginning to change, so that's less of a problem over time. So that's your first question. Then you ask, are you using a different brush for each color or cleaning the brush between colors? What I do is a little bit of both. I try to use a bunch, I'm just grabbing a bunch of brushes here, they're various sizes. Now, when you need a certain size and it's dirty with a different color than what you're using, and you only have this one large brush or whatever, what I would do is wipe it off first on my towel, get all the excess oil out, then I'd rinse it in my water, dry it off again, and then use my paint to put it on the canvas. Let's say I'm using this for my whites, okay? And then all of it, now I'm on to my greens. So I've got all these wet brushes in my hand or sitting in the little holster things on my palette or whatever. And now I'm on to my greens. So I'm gonna grab my green brush, but gee, this is sap green and I'm gonna be using Viridian. I just wipe it off a little bit, grab my Viridian and start painting. Then I put that one away. I don't wipe it or anything. I just hold on to it like this. Then, oops, I need my reds. So then I'll grab a brush that may have reds on it or brown on it, and then I'll wipe it a little bit, grab my red and take care of it. Then, oops, now I need to use blues, but I don't have a brush with blues and I really want this size and it's the only size of this brush I have. So I'm going to wipe it off, get all that green off, rinse it off, wipe it off, and then get my blues and mix it. Put it back in my hand. Then later if I need greens, I'll grab my blue brush because I may need some blue in my green, and I'll just use what's on the brush and mix it in with my green and everything will be fine. So that's what I do. I do a little bit of both, but I try not to rinse too much. I like to keep my water as clean as possible until I'm ready to clean my brushes off at the end of the painting. And that's important if you're out in the field plein air painting or whatever. So that's what I do with that. I hope that answers your question. And then your next question you asked was, you said you use a drop of painting medium to increase flow or something, question mark. But what medium did you use? There are so many of them. Well, it's actually called painting medium, just like you quoted it in your comment. I use Winsor & Newton Artisan water mixable oil painting medium, and if you look right here, if I can get it to focus, I don't know if that's focused or not because my eyes are so bad right now, but right there it says painting medium, And that's what I use. And this painting medium says, oh shoot, holy smokes, I can't see. I need my new glasses. Reduces consistency, increases luminosity and flexibility of artisan oil color. They want you to use their color. I use Holbein and Lucas. So slow drying, resists yellowing, ideal for oiling out or enriching dull patches. So what they mean by oiling out is getting to your fat. You do fat over lean. So you're going to start with your lean layer and get fatter over time. And that's what they're talking about, oiling out. Using this like it's an oil. It doesn't yellow like linseed oil can yellow over time. That's another thing that yellows quite a bit. So I tend to stay away from the oils because this I know is going to dry fairly rapidly. It dries slow, increases flow so that you can use it for a longer period of time, but it dries quicker than oil. Linseed oil doesn't usually dry. I mean, it'll get sticky over time and eventually dry out. But some people who use too much oil in their paintings when they're first starting out and they don't know, well, what they shouldn't, that you shouldn't go past that 50% mark, and I wouldn't even do that with oil. You can come back years later and your oil painting is still as wet as it was the day you painted it. And that's because they use too much oil in their painting. You just got to throw the painting out or scrape it off and start over again. But anyway, so I use this and it is called painting medium. So that's that question. Then, oops, I just lost it, darn it. Then I had a question from, I believe it was Cheryl Wright. I can get out of here and into, okay, there we go. Cheryl Wright commented.
My name is Andrew Wright.
Oops.
I'm an illustrator based in London.
Off topic here, Sharon. I'm setting up a palette of Daniel Smith watercolors and I'd appreciate your help with the reds. I have Perylene red. Is it a warm or a cool red? And which red would be a good warmer, cool red to complement it? Thanks, Sharon. Okay, Perylene red is not a common red. You'll hear of Perylene scarlet, but Perylene red is a red that you'll hear with Daniel Smith. They have a lot of colors. They have more colors than any other watercolor company out there. And there's some more on the back. But the nice thing about their chart, if you ever get one of these charts, is that you'll see they start from cool yellow and go to warm yellows, into oranges, warm reds, into cool reds, then into your violets, and then into your blues, greens, and on. So it's really kind of nice. So if you look on the chart, well, Perylene red is what I would consider a warm red. Out of all the reds on here, where the heck is it? There's Pyrrole Scarlet, Perylene Scarlet, Pyrrole Red. Actually, Perylene Scarlet is actually warmer than Perylene Red. Here's Perylene Red. It is in the second row, but you see all the reds after it. This is still on the warmer side of red. For me, I use a quinacridone coral for my, I can't even find it on here. Oh yeah, it's way up here. It's way up at the top in the first reds. Quinacridone coral is the warm red that I use. So Cheryl, your Perylene red would be a warm red. If you want to go with a nice cool red, I also use quinacridone red, which is dead center between cool and warm. And I love having that dead center red because it's the perfect red, I think. I stay away from cadmiums because, first of all, they can be more expensive. Cadmium is also very poisonous. And third, it is opaque. So I like to stay as transparent as possible. Now, when you're choosing colors, you want to be able to go with either, you want to make sure you're covering all your bases. Now, with your Perylene red here, it has not yet been rated, but it is a good light fast red, even though ASTM has not yet rated it. It is a 3 on the staining scale of 4. So it's a medium staining red, which means you're not going to be able to lift it all off the paper. And many reds are like that. They don't lift well. It is non-granulating and it is a semi-transparent red. PR178 is the pigment number. Now, my quinacridone red, which is dead center, is light fastness of 1. It is medium staining, non-granulating, and is transparent. Perylene red is semi-transparent. Then for my cool red, I love quinacridone magenta, and it's a popular color people like. That is also not yet rated, but it is very light fast. It is a number 3, let's see, number 3 on the staining scale, so it is medium staining, and it is non-granulating, and it is also transparent, PR202. That is my favorite cool red, quinacridone magenta. But you could go with quinacridone rose, quinacridone pink. I'd stay away from quinacridone rose. It is PV19. I'm not sure if that is a color. No, that one should be okay. It's PV3 that we have a problem with. So quinacridone pink you could use, although it's very pink. And what I like about quinacridone magenta is that you can take that value down and make a pink out of the quinacridone magenta, which is beautiful. It'll be a little deeper than a quinacridone pink would be, but if you're having a limited palette, I would go with the magenta. You can also go with pyrrole crimson, which is a semi-transparent, quinacridone fuchsia, which is very pink, but I would stay away from opera pink, which is a gorgeous fluorescent pink that people love, but it is fugitive. You want to stay away from that. Rose Madder Genuine is a granulating cool red if you want something that's granulating. There are very few granulating reds. But so if you want my suggestion, I would go with quinacridone magenta. So I hope that helps you. But think about it when you look up a color on Daniel Smith's charts or on their website. Look at all of the information. Do you want to stick with transparent colors? Look at their codes. They'll have the little circle that is either black, which means opaque, white, which is transparent, or if it's split in half, black and white, that's semi-transparent or semi-opaque, whichever way you want to look at it. Half full, half empty, whatever. I tend to steer toward transparent colors when I can, when it's watercolor. And I like to have some granulating colors, some non-granulating colors. Quinacridone colors are always staining. And what staining means is that the particles in the pigment are so fine that they seep down into the fibers of the paper. And then if you want to lift any of that paint off, this paint that's down below the fibers of the paper will not be able to be lifted off. You may be able to lift a little bit off the top. When they say medium staining, you might get a little off the top, but it's going to stain your paper. Now, why staining over non-staining? Both are very useful. Let's say you're going to do glazes. Somebody once asked me months ago about glazing and said, well, how do you glaze in watercolor? Doesn't it all just lift off? Not if you use a staining color as your first layer. If you use a staining color as your first layer, let's say you're using the quinacridone rose, and then you decide to put some ultramarine over it in a glaze to make a purple, but you want some of that pink to show, so you go back in with your brush and you start to lift some of that ultramarine off. That pink is going to be stuck on there because it's sunk through the fibers of the paper. And that way you get this beautiful change in color, this variation where you're going to still have that pink underneath, and then it's going to change to purple and blue and then pink underneath. And that's a good reason to have a staining color. You lay it first and then glaze with a non-staining color on top of it. You can glaze with a staining color on top of it, but you're not going to be able to lift anything off. So non-staining on top of staining is great for glazes. So I hope that helps you. You asked for it. If you have questions, just put them in your comments. Once I decide to go ahead and make a video for You Asked For It, I will let you know that I've commented on your question, and I will do that in the comments so that you can go to the video and hear the answer. Okay? So everybody have a great day, and be courageous, paint with wild abandon, and most of all, be kind to each other. God bless.